Today for Photo P lessons, we're going to remove red eye on this picture and we'll also blur the background on that picture. In all honesty, Photo P is not the best program to do either of these things. Normally we'd be working with Photoshop. Maybe you have Lightroom at home. They're much better programs for doing these techniques, but you'll get the gist today and be able to apply that to the other programs if you ever work with them. Let's start with the red eye picture. First thing I need to do is go to Control and then the plus button, which is next to backspace on your keyboard. I want to get the eyes as big as I can on my screen, but I can still see both of them. So I've zoomed in, and if you haven't noticed, underneath each of these tools on your toolbar, there's things underneath it. Like when I press cropping, there's other stuff. I want you to find the red eye tool. It may be underneath the Band-Aid, it may be underneath another spot, but look for red eye tool. When you find it, make sure your mouse, the circle right here, is as big as the red part of the eye. If it's not, then I want you to hold down the Control-T key, the CTRL key, and the brackets there next to your letter P on your keyboard. And when you do, you're going to make your mouse bigger or smaller. I'm going to get mine about the same size as the red eye. And when I click, basically it just desaturates or grayscales the red into blacks and grays. I'm going to click over here on this one, and then I'm going to zoom back out so you can see it, that the red eye is gone. So once most or all of the red is gone, you should just have one or two clicks there. File, export as a JPEG, and then turn that in on the red eye remover assignment on today's post. Now the other one is to blur the background. Again, Photo P isn't the best in the world with this, but you'll get the gist. This girl's working in one of our art classrooms. I want to concentrate on her, and I don't want to see much of what's going on in the background. If you were unable to achieve this with an aperture size, a large aperture to blur the background, one way to fake it is to select the background and then blur it with a filter. Now, again, Photoshop's much better at this. Normally, I would be able to go to Object Selection, Magic Wand. There's a couple of different choices here. The problem is Photo P isn't that great. It's supposed to be able to be a one-click thing. You should also be able to use the quick selection tool and just paint over your subject. That works wonderfully in Photoshop and terrible in Photo P. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect anything that I already have. A quick way to do that is to hold down the Control and the D key at the same time. So in case I, misselect something or select too little or too much, pressing Control D will make everything start over again. I normally like to work with the Lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool. Let's just see which one works better in this case. Let's try magnetic first. I want to click around this girl. Oh, it was there for a second and then it went away. Oh, there's some of it. Magnetic lasso tool works okay. I'm just going around her. I'm going to include the table because I want to see what she's working on. I'm going to keep going around her. And then when I get back to the end, I should be able to double click. Yeah, no. See, Photo P is terrible. I'm going to click Control D and get this to go away. Let's just try Lasso tool. It'll just have to do. I'm going to really roughly cut around her. Oh, that's terrible. Let's try this again. I'm going to click around her. Oh, come on. There we go. If this were your actual picture, I would have you spend a lot of time on this, but this is just a practice. I'm going to lasso all of her, much of her as I can. There we go. Try that. Get as much of her in the table as you can selected, either with your lasso tool, your magnetic lasso tool. We're looking for a dotted line around this girl and around her table, whichever tool you can achieve that with. Super. Okay, so now I have her selected. What I want to do is I want to select the background now. I'm going to go to Select Inverse. So that's the opposite. That's the background now. I'm going to blur it by going to Filter, Blur, Lens Blur. And you can actually see the background's already blurry for you. If we wanted to change any of these things to make them super blurry, we could, but I kind of like that look now. I'm concentrating on her and not the background. It's super blurry. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to deselect. There we go. That looks much better. File, export as a JPEG and you're finished. Again, don't worry about perfection here. I miss some of the tools that she's using and it's not perfect, but hey, just blur the background. You'll be just fine. Again, I use Lasso. You might try one of these other tools to select her in the beginning. Lasso worked for me, and you can use what you want to for that, that tool.